Hi there, welcome back to UnoTumbler. Hope you all have been well and are rocking wherever you are. In our last video, we spoke about joining the startup world. In case you missed it, you will see the link in the one of the top corners. Please feel free to click on it and have a detailed look. Now, as part of my planned list of topics today, I was going to talk about something else. But with the latest developments in the startup ecosystem, I've decided to talk about something which is more topical currently, and that is layoffs, or downsizing, or being fired. There is a lot of unwarranted shame associated with this particular element, and particularly because people don't understand it, and I want to address it head on. First things first, have I ever been laid off? Yes, and calling it a painful experience will be an understatement. It was heartbreaking, really, and it was a confidence killer. It took me a good 4-5 years to mentally overcome it, and I probably still carry some baggage about it till date. But let me come back to this in a while. I first want to talk about why this happened so that you can look at your company, your startup, your industry, and be aware and be prepared. There are 4 key reasons why such mass layoffs happen: reduced demand, changing external environment, hunt for runway, and hunt for profitability. This is, of course, the most self-explanatory one. The demand for a company's products and services has gone down or is expected to go down, and the current workforce of the company is just not needed. Take an example of the IT sector. The product and services needs of the whole world changed with the pandemic. Now, as a result, companies hired aggressively to the point of overhiring, some would say. There was record hiring across all levels and roles even till March 22. And until the realization that the post-pandemic world has reset to what it was earlier. So as a result, the product and services needs of the world changed again. For instance, Google Meet would not need so many people as it did during the pandemic, as more in-person meetings started happening. Where the Google Enterprise Business Plan, which enabled 500 plus participants, was not required anymore, and companies were okay with the business plan which enabled 150 concurrent joiners. Now apply the same logic to the IT services being provided. Business is going down across the board. As a result, people have been let go. Mind you, with the recession looming, this reduction in demand is expected to continue in 2023 as well. As you all know, businesses are dependent on a host of external factors. Let me take a stab at simplifying with an example. The auto sector is dependent on semiconductor chips, and there is a huge shortage of the same. As a result, auto manufacturers are churning out lesser cars than they can. This, of course, comes after the COVID phase when car sales plummeted by as much as 80% in regions, 80%. And now that the demand is back, there are no chips. So imagine you're heading a large auto company, you have a workforce of, let's say, 7,000 people, which produces 3,000 plus cars per day. Chips are not available in time, so the production comes down to 2,500 cars per day, let's say a 16% reduction. Now factor in the increased costs of raw materials and, of course, the chips themselves, and you are looking at an 8 to 10% increase in costs overall. So the output is less, the costs are higher, and mind you, the demand for cars is still very high. So what do you think will happen? Layoffs and more automation to reduce dependency on humans, and so on. The above examples were of large companies which are cash rich and profitable. How would this play out in startups? Each startup has a limited pool of money that they have to play with, right? So let's say the company has around 10 crores in the bank. The monthly revenues are around 10 lakhs and the monthly costs are around 60 lakhs, bringing the cash burn to around 50 lakhs per month. If the status quo is maintained, the runway for the company is 20 months. And there are 2 ways you can extend it. Either the revenue goes up from 10 lakhs or the costs come down from 60 lakhs. Preferably both should happen at the same time. But what if the demand drops away? I read about a startup which started out in the pandemic as a WhatsApp-based community for e-commerce. The startup aggregated home-based businesses and created WhatsApp communities. Consumers joined these communities to place orders, and the startup enabled the transaction and I think the delivery as well. They ended up raising some money and scaled up until the world reset back. As the founder explained in a beautiful post, the demand reduced and runway was shortening by the day, and she just did not see the demand keeping pace with the new reality. As a result, there was a hard pivot, and while the company exists, it is doing something else completely now. The team unfortunately had to be let go. Or take an example of a crypto startup. We all know the meltdown crypto has had with FTX. Completely not in the hands of the startup, right? And add to that the uncertain regulatory environment. What do you think will be the course of action? But what about these large funded companies that are laying off people? Doesn't make sense, right? You guys have raised hundreds of crores and you're still laying off people? Agreed that these large companies have a lot of money in the bank, but the eventual aim for any business is to be profitable. And the funding party is over for now. You can't go to the market to raise more money. You have to provide an exit to your investors in a few years' time. So you need to either prepare for an IPO or a strategic exit, meaning some other company should buy everybody out. But will you, as an investor, or let's say another company, want to acquire shares of a company which is not profitable, even after raising large amounts of money? No, right? As a result, these large, well-funded companies are on the hunt for profitability. And believe me when I say this, each cost line item is looked at with a magnifying lens. Companies go easy on hiring or stop hiring outright. Headcount and performance is evaluated across the board. Experimental or moonshot business lines are done away with. Non-core functions are outsourced. Complete teams get laid off. Full-time folks are offered consultant roles. And of course, these are all people-related changes only. Additionally, companies rationalize costs around tech, around marketing, travel, office space, and so on. So where does your industry, your company stand? It's not difficult to find information nowadays. So please research, please understand what the ecosystem is going through and be aware and prepared. No founder or CEO lets people go at scale voluntarily. However cliched it sounds, it is really a tough call. But the survival of the business always comes first. That is the reality. Talk to people, talk to ex-colleagues, your seniors, industry folks. 2023 is expected to be tough and hopefully this will help you all plan for the time to come. Well, first of all, really sorry to hear about it. I've been there and it's not easy at all. There is a feeling of shock, like what the hell just happened? How do I pay my EMIs, my rent? There is a feeling of guilt. Why did it have to be me? Could I have done something differently? There is a feeling of panic, like what do I do now? How do I get my career back on track? Will it ever come back on track? Well, first of all, please try to understand why it happened. What is happening in your industry? What is happening in your company? What is happening in the ecosystem? Please go back to the framework we just went through. Apply some other framework, but understand why the layoffs happen. This is the easy part. Second, the tough part. Talk to people about it. Talk to your friends, talk to your family, put it out on social media. It will be very difficult, but please get it out there so that it does not remain a hush-hush topic. There is no guilt, there is no shame in what happened. And if you have done step 1, you will probably be able to explain why it happened as well. Third, objectively assess your skills. What are you good at? What can you improve on? And I'm not just talking about technical skills. I'm talking about soft skills, team handling, punctuality, communication, everything that you feel adds value to your work life. Draw out a list of your strengths and weaknesses and objectively work on your weaknesses. Fourth, identify what you want to do next. Go back to the same industry, but different company. Maybe your previous sales profile was not to your liking and you want to cross over to the marketing side. Maybe you want to change your industry. Maybe you want to upgrade your skills, get some certifications. Based on this, please prepare your CV properly. And fifth, most important, don't sit still. Each day will feel like a ticking time bomb and it will get worse if you are waiting for things to happen. Don't. Every day you need to be working towards getting your career back on track. Be it meeting people, having calls, mailing your CV, searching for opportunities. If you really want to put your mind to it, you will actually find time short for all the things that you really need to do. I remember when I was asked to leave many years back, the biggest impact that it had on me was loss of self-confidence. I did not do step 1, I did not do step 2, but I was very good with the steps 3 to 5. Now, as a result, while I was able to eventually move on, my healing process, so to say, remained incomplete. I pushed forward with a feeling of, I will show them I'm not useless. 4 to 5 years later, I bumped into my ex-CEO who had fired me and looked him in the eye and I told him what I was doing. And I think I was expecting some remorse, He just looked at me and he said, "Wonderful. I'm happy for you." This is what happens in real life. In our minds, the world has been unjust to us, but in reality, layoffs are a strictly business call, a mismatch baby between who you are and what the company wants. It does not mean you are bad, and it can happen to anyone. The key is to understand, absorb, plan, and move forward. Hope this has been of help. Please feel free to share your thoughts in the comments. We'll surely try and help in any way that I can. See you next time for more, and don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe.